Hey friends, and welcome back to our book club, Love and Responsibility, as we delve into the teachings of Pope St. John Paul II on relationships, as we delve into Dr. Edward Sri's Men, Women, and the Mystery of Love, a great book, and I hope that your relationships are already beginning to be enriched and nourished and deepened and become more Christ-centered as we delve into these awesome themes and topics, the teachings of Pope St. John Paul II. So this week we're looking at Chapter 11. The title of Chapter 11 is How Contraception Harms Love. So the presupposition is here is contraception harms love. If you want to harm your relationships, if you want them to be less loving, use artificial contraception. If you want to enter into deeper relationships, have a more loving relationship, don't use contraception. If we could just walk away with like that conviction, yes, this is how I'm going to live my life because I believe it, and etc., then wow, this would be great. But Edward Sri, in the chapter, he kind of articulates the why, which is good. We should know why we're doing things. It helps us embrace them more fully and love them more deeply. So he says there's kind of four reasons or four issues surrounding contraception and why it is that it harms love. So the first is that God has a plan for marriage and sex. Once again, it's a good thing. It comes from God. And on the one hand, sex is meant to unite spouses, so draw them closer into deeper union with each other. But sex is also an opportunity for spouses. As they enter into this love with each other, they now become collaborators with God in bringing new life into this world. So there's kind of this twofold dimension to sexual intercourse. Well, what's the problem with artificial contraception? The problem is that we're removing one of the pieces to the puzzle, right? Part of the equation is now being erased, so to speak, and that is, parenthood, new life. Children. And when we do this, when we remove children from the equation, it's going to impoverish marital love. Why? It's not because we're changing God's plan. We're trying to manipulate things, control things according to the way we want. And in the short term, it might sound great, but in the long run, it's going to lead to misery. It's going to lead to sadness. So you remove children from the relationship, Edward Sri says, and the relationship is now going to become closed in on itself. Right? It's good that spouses focus on each other like face to face, or looking at each other face to face, the unitive dimension. But it's not just meant to stay there. Couples, as they gaze upon each other, then are called to stand shoulder to shoulder, side by side, as they work together, collaborate with God, and bring new life into this world. It's going to help mature the love and the relationship. It's anyway. So when we take that away, it's not good. The catchphrase, so to speak, of what John Paul II is getting at here. He says, when someone is open to parenthood, open to new life, it's like they're saying, I love you so much that I'm even willing to embark on an adventure of parenthood with you. Right? So there's this total acceptance of the other, which includes parenthood, fatherhood, motherhood. To remove children, this is going to do damage to their marital love and relationship. So artificial contraception removes children from the equation. That's not good for marriage or for love. But it doesn't just reject children. So artificial contraception is also going to be an occasion for the spouses to reject each other. Now, this is big in John Paul II because, once again, we need to respect each other as persons always. And so what he's going to say is artificial contraception is a crime against the other because we won't be accepting the other person for who or she is in their entirety. Contraceptive sex is not just a rejection of new life, but also of one's spouse. Why? Because it restricts the sexual act to its physical pleasure. Instead of seeing one's spouse as a co-creator of love, he or she is now seen primarily as a partner in a pleasurable experience. Right? So now we're reducing, which is all the chapters are talking about this in one way or the other, we're reducing the other person to this occasion for our utilitarian calculus, maximizing my own pleasure. In this case, no kids, that's too complicated. I just want you, aka I just want the physical, the pleasurable dimensions of our relationship. And so you're rejecting the motherhood. You're rejecting the fatherhood of the other. I want all of you except for that part. I give you everything except for this part of me, and that's not good. And it's not in keeping with the dignity of the human person. So with artificial contraception, you're not just rejecting children, you're actually rejecting part of your spouse, and thereby doing damage to your spouse, which is going to impoverish the love and hurt the relationship. So that's reason number two. Reason number three, it's not so much a reason in the sense that the other two were, but it's a clarification. So by saying that married love always needs to be open to children or open to parenthood, that's not to say that every time a man and woman enter into sex, they need to, like, in their minds always have this as the primary reason: children, 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 openness to new life, and kind of weirdly enter into the sexual embrace, kind of in this kind of paranoid sense of new life. Every act of sexual intercourse needs to be open to new life. That needs to be the basic disposition of the husband and of the wife. So there just needs to be an understanding that when we enter into sexual intercourse, it could lead to children. And praise God. All right, we're open to that. But we don't need to kind of in a weird or manic sort of way, like keeping this in the forefront and rejecting the pleasurable dimension of sex. No, it's just enter into sexual intercourse as it's meant to be. It's a pleasurable experience. It's open to new life. Every time you use it, it should be so. It should be that way. And if you do that, it's going to be good for you. So to use artificial contraception is going to create this dynamic in which you reject life, and it's not going to be good, as we described for the two reasons beforehand. John Paul II also says that couples can abstain from sexual relationships at times, for example, when the wife is particularly fertile, for certain reasons. He calls this periodic abstinence. So you can abstain from sexual relationships in certain situations. And if you want a more detailed explanation of this, I encourage you to research and explore natural family planning. This is a way to either achieve pregnancy or to postpone a pregnancy temporarily, that's in keeping with the church's teaching on the dignity of the human person and the great sacredness of this gift of sex that we've received from God. If you want to check out more about NFP, Natural Family Planning, I suggest you look up Natural Womanhood. It's an awesome organization that does a great job of teaching what natural family planning is all about and how it is so good for married life and love. So it's called Natural Womanhood. If you just Google that, you'll get there, and there's a lot of great resources for helping you understand what the sexual gift is and how it can be abstained from in a way that's in keeping with God's plan. And then lastly, John Paul II clarifies, okay, but if you're going to enter into periodic abstinence, if you're going to choose not to have sex for a certain amount of time, for a certain reason, then it has to be done so with the right kind of intentions, right? We would never enter into periodic abstinence, meaning we're going to refrain from sexual intercourse because we don't want a family. Right. Instead, it would be, out of great love for our family and with this sense of responsibility for the new life that might come from our having sex with each other, we're choosing for a certain amount of time to not enter into sex out of actually love and reverence for our family and society and the consequences that another child would have. So the key, though, is that we see children as a blessing. So children are a good thing. It enriches a family to have children. We ought to be very generous in having children, right? But there may be certain reasons why we should, for this period of time, not engage in sexual relations. So John Paul II says that the true good of the family must be seriously discerned before entering into periodic continence. It is important for children to have siblings. John Paul II seems to suggest no fewer than 3 children is healthy. A child needs a natural community and should not be left alone. So once again, we tend to think, oh, another child, this is just a financial burden. Oh, another child, this is a, hindrance to my autonomy and my freedom. And, oh, no, I don't think we should have any more. I mean, instead of kind of calculating things that way, which is just so sad, no, children are a blessing. It's enriching. It's a good thing to have a family. I've never met a couple who said, wow, I really wish we didn't have that one. Like people might joke like that. Gosh, he's a real headache, which is true, right? It happens in all of our families. But like honestly to say, like, I literally wish I didn't have that child. I've never met a parent who's ever said that. Why? Because kids are a good thing. Kids are a blessing, right? Children enrich life. It's so we need to counter this cultural message that children are just a burden and it's going to make your life a mess, etc. No, children are a good thing. So if we're going to enter into natural family planning or periodic continence, then we need to do so from a place of responsibility, having truly discerned what's actually best for our family, for society? What do we believe God is asking of us in this moment? So it's a prayerful decision that's made. And then, okay, it seems like for the good of our family, for this time, we're going to, postpone having sex with each other, etc. And okay, I think that's clear. So I'm very passionate about this topic, natural family planning. I certainly hope you go over to natural womanhood and kind of explore it a little bit. And if you're married and you have no idea what I'm even talking about, reach out to a priest, reach out to someone who can give you more information about it. It's going to do nothing but enrich and bless you in your married love. So may God bless you, and I'll be praying for you this week. I hope you have great discussions and time for prayer to set this aside. There's a lot of confusing messages about artificial contraception in our culture today, and so we need to be very wise and very prudent, seeking the wisdom of people like John Paul II and the Catholic Church. So God bless you. See you next time.